All right. Well, I couldn't resist this. Jello again. This is Ben Hitchcock Cross talking to you today. And I woke up this morning in my feed with social media posts force Judge Mogan to recuse herself. So we're going to watch that video and live react. I got a few things that I got to say in preface before that, which is number one, remember, you won't hear me criticizing a sitting circuit court judge. And there's a lot of reasons for that beyond contempt, beyond the rules, comedy, all sorts of concepts, and just good practice here. You're not going to hear me directly criticizing the judge in her demeanor. Um, but you will hear me criticizing the law, the situation. We'll get into all that stuff there. Um, Part of why I was thinking about this is, there's what we call direct contempt, which is contempt that happens, contemptuous behavior of a courtroom that happens in front of a judge. Now, in most every other situation, we don't really, it's sort of a hangover of a relic of feudal times where the dignity of the court was sacrosanct. The dignity of the king it was a crime to offend the dignity of a noble. Um, yeah, that has mostly gone out of the wayside. Um, because free speech in a constitutional republic, the Constitution grants free speech, and we don't normally have these kind of rules. Now, I personally believe and was thinking this out that there are sort of independent grounds beyond the sort of dignity of the court, which may be sort of an old-fashioned way of thinking about it. But it's simply this, and we've talked about this many, many times, that um, governmental entities have the power to enforce their own rules. So, and what do we mean by that, right? For example, and we use the post office one a lot, the post office has the authority to enforce crimes against the post office. And so meaning that if there's a dispute between the local state and the federal government, the post office cannot get in between it because, for example, the state government cannot block the post office from doing things. The post office doesn't need to go to the local sheriff to file a complaint. They can go to the federal government and have their own, you were messing with our trucks or whatever it is. In the same vein, you can't walk into a post office and stop them from doing their business. They have the right to exclude you from certain areas, to regulate your conduct in the public areas, and so forth. Okay. Now, a judge is kind of even in a trickier situation because they have to invite all of these people into their courtroom. And in some sense, and I was thinking about this again this morning, the courtroom, those decisions that are made in court are so significant and of a community of community importance that may be exactly where you would want, in traditional ways of thinking, to have free speech, to be able to say, Judge, you made the wrong call. Now, again, I'm not going to be criticizing somebody directly because I'm an attorney. You go right ahead and do that all you want. But we're going to be examining this, and of course, with any sort of examination, there's a critical critique of critical criticism, right? Okay. All right. So let's just get right into it and see what happens. This is from Lone Wolf Usul, I think, or
Say you can find themselves in court.
Usul, the wolf. Better get the cans on.
All right. Town of Menon versus John Armstrong.
I can tell you that I've written a fan letter to Judge
Come on up.
Mogan saying how glad I am, how proud I am that she is the pioneer in Wisconsin for live streaming, sort of oh my God, who's the pioneer judge from Michigan with the long hair? And oh my gosh, Ben.
Can you please pull the microphones down? Yeah. We will go on the record in the matter 24 FO 275, Town of Menon versus John Armstrong.
Oh,
The town of Menon.
That's interesting. All on social media about the judge. That's very interesting. Democratic criticism by Pickering is totally a grounds for recusal. because we assume that a person, an ordinary person, even an ordinary judge, is going to react negatively to personal criticism. Now, that doesn't allow you to try to remove a judge by personal criticism. But here this is gonna be interesting.
Appears through Chelsea Whitley by video conferencing. She was on her way to court to be here in person, but the weather is now in a terrible state and she had to turn around in luck
Yeah, I
because
wouldn't
she
do it
could
that
not
state right there,
get here
Mr.
safely.
Lone Wolf.
So she's appearing by video. John Armstrong appears here in person without counsel. We're set today for a court trial. But before we begin, I do have to bring something to everybody's attention. Mr. Armstrong.
Whoa. Sorry. Here's what I want to say on that.
I do two things.
We'll figure this out. Sorry about that. I forget that I'm not signed in here sometimes. We need to just keep in mind, I think, that this may be an example of what you should be doing here. I don't know. I've never watched this, but again.
Appears here in person without counsel. We're set today for a court trial. But before we begin, I do have to bring something to everybody's attention. Mr. Armstrong, I believe I need to recuse myself from this case because it's been brought to my attention that there's been numerous postings that you believe that I'm biased and I'm not partial, or that I am partial and I'm not impartial.
Doesn't sound like
and you don't believe that you're going to get a fair trial and all of these things. And I'm going to tell you that my whole job is to ensure that people can get a fair trial, and that's my job. And also, I also want to let you know that courts don't decide where people live. Courts don't decide where people go after they're done with probation. Judges don't decide that. People don't decide those kinds of things. I don't get to make that choice. And so those are things that I think that people should be more informed of the justice system and know how it really works before they spew things all over, because it's not fair to the people who actually know how the system works. And so I don't care what
I'm going to disagree with
you
that
say
slightly.
or what you said about me.
I
really
just because I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with her, and she again is the pioneer, and I could count out 20 things I would not know about Wisconsin criminal law if it wasn't for her streaming on there. So again, all credit where credit is due, but we who are in a privileged position of knowing the law really should not expect everybody else to be in that position, knowing full well that ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
Truly don't. It doesn't hurt my feelings. It's my job. But I want to let you know, and I'll let you in on something that I didn't find out that I had a group home 3 houses down from me until I got a case where there was a shipment, a huge box shipment of THC vapes sent, and I was on that case. But you want to know what? I had to dismiss that case because somebody's constitutional rights were violated. And so as a person, that kind of, I'm like, wow, I just found out I have a group home like 3 houses down from me. And there was a shipment of THC vapes sent to this group home. As a person, I'm like, wow. As a judge, I have to look out for people's rights and their constitutional rights. And that person's constitutional rights were violated. And it is my job, my responsibility, my ethical duty to dismiss that case because that person's rights were violated. And that is exactly what I did. That is exactly what I do.
This may be a lot different than vapes, though.
Well, the thing is, I'm not going to get to know because you have already stated on social media, and again, it's been sent to me by multiple sources, that you think that you're not going to get a fair and impartial trial.
Yeah, I sent that letter away when it started. I sent that letter to you.
Well,
As a matter of fact, I sent you a letter 2 years ago that you never replied to or never responded to.
There's such a thing called ex parte communication.
Understandable.
Where judges cannot respond to things by individual people. And there are, in cases, only
Yeah.
some people can write letters and do some things. I can't respond to letters that are sent to the court and to be put into a file. I would be able to
Understandable,
respond
yes.
here if we have an actual trial and as a
Yeah.
judge. That's where
I don't
my
like this
voice
tone. I don't like
gets
the
to be
attitude.
heard. I
Understandable.
don't get to be heard until that time.
I guess I was sending it out for public awareness. I sent the letter to 3 judges and I got a response from 2 of them.
Well,
Jermaine struggled for years with dental issues before finally finding.
Oh, here we are. So,
I'm gonna guess that, well, I don't know. I can actually go and talk to those judges because I'm friends with all of the judges in District 10.
well, I've also brought a witness that he said the state asked for 9 to 12 months and he was out in 3 months. And there were 2 roommates
Here's the thing.
that are
Here's the
pedophiles
thing.
in his house.
Here's the thing
I don't
that
like
you
this
don't
guy.
understand about the law. There are higher courts that direct what courts have to do and what I
Understandable.
have to follow.
Yeah. You're not getting all the information.
I know I'm not, and neither are you. And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I've got
And
stacks
that's
of
why
it.
I'm saying I'm recusing myself so you can have the fair and
Perfect.
impartial trial
Thank you
that
very
you
much.
believe that you want to have.
Thank you.
And so you'll be assigned a new judge. And then you can have the fair, impartial trial that you wish to have. And however it goes is how it's going
She's
to
going
go.
above and beyond.
Will
I
I be
don't
able
think
to
there's
request a jury trial?
anything here.
No,
Oh,
The facts as I
Because I
understand,
requested that
she's making
earlier and-
comments
this
saying
isn't
that
a
she's
jury
fine.
trial case.
But I requested it initially. I
Unless there's
requested a jury
proof,
trial.
But
there's
it's not a
nothing
jury
that
trial
it's something on the
case.
record that would demonstrate.
On the
you
letter
lied.
from the
Not just a
court said
statement.
that I had an
Talk
option.
to the new judge and you can make your case
Perfect.
with the new
Thank you.
judge.
Thank you very
And
much.
so that's what's going to
That's
happen.
where I
Yes.
would be.
But again,
All right, I'm gonna pause it here because I got to meet with someone shortly. But this is that is fascinating here. And again, we want to contrast between the ALJs at the Department of Workforce Development who only or seemingly only recuse themselves under the direction of their supervisors, and then but otherwise refuse to, no matter what evidence that you have in the record here, as opposed to this judge who believes that justice needs to be seen to be done correctly. She is recusing herself out of an abundance of caution here, which I think is probably not necessary. Again, I don't like the tone of that individual, but I do admire I think that she is privileging his right to a fair trial over anything else. And I don't see how that really can be wrong. Um, bottom line. So that's where we're at with that. I think again, good bias ruling. She's going, I think, above and beyond, and I will say this: the defendant may need to be careful of what he wishes for, but we'll see what happens. Thanks for sticking with us here. I'll get a little music in. Take care. Keep it real.